What if the quietest conflict in the Middle East is being decided by a weapon almost no one sees, but everyone fears? Welcome to the Strategic Flow, where every analysis reveals the behind the scenes of global power. Today we explore an invisible but decisive escalation. The United States has once again deployed its most secretive bomber, the B-2 Spirit, and the target isn't a superpower, but an insurgent group based in Yemen. The Houthis, once again, returned to the center of the geopolitical game. Last week, the group announced a series of offensives: attacks on a military base near Tel Aviv, attempts against American ships, including the USS Harry S. Truman, and missiles fired toward Israel. None of these actions have been confirmed by independent sources, but the American response came with full force. The B-2 was deployed to destroy strategic bunkers in Houthi territory. And that's not the only flashpoint. Some of the launched missiles landed on Saudi soil, triggering immediate retaliation. According to reports, Saudi Arabia is now focusing its artillery on key Houthi positions in Sayada, northern Yemen. On the invisible chessboard of geopolitics, a new move has been made, and all signs point to this flying piece, nearly invisible to radars, potentially shifting the balance of power in the Middle East. What, in fact, are the Houthis aiming for? And why did the United States decide to unleash its most advanced bomber right now? The answer begins with a confirmed fact. So far, the only successful Houthi attack was the downing of an American Navy MQ-9 reconnaissance drone. The group released images of the wreckage in an explicit attempt to bolster its narrative of resistance and military precision. Since then, the Houthis have multiplied their claims. They said they targeted a military site in Jaffa with long-range drones. They also claim to have conducted offensives against U.S. warships in the Red Sea. None of these accounts, however, have been corroborated by independent sources, neither by Israel nor by Washington. This brings us to the strategic tension. Are we seeing a group trying to expand its radius of influence and create a perception of power, even without concrete proof of its feats? Or are there hidden elements justifying the U.S. response with a weapon of extremely high cost and lethality? From this point, the analysis demands depth, and that's what we'll dive into next. A critical moment in the escalation came when open-source intelligence confirmed the launch of a Houthi ballistic missile toward Israel, but the outcome exposed both the group's technical limitations and the regional danger. The missile failed mid-flight and crashed on Saudi soil. This wasn't an isolated incident. Similar events have been piling up in recent weeks, and this has altered Saudi Arabia's strategic calculus. What was once seen as a peripheral threat is now understood as a direct and recurring violation of sovereignty. Riyadh, faced with this new scenario, reacted without hesitation. It began targeting Houthi positions directly and in coordination, and, crucially, in sync with American forces. This cooperation signals a broader movement. Saudi Arabia, which in recent years sought a more cautious diplomatic profile, is now repositioning itself as an active force in the regional military theater. And the alliance with the U.S. in this context reveals a response axis that goes beyond tactical retaliation. It points to a joint strategy of regional containment. The reactivation of the B-2 bombers wasn't symbolic. It was surgical. Satellite reports and field imagery reveal precise strikes carried out in the city of Sana'a, Yemen. The target? An underground area near the ancient triangular fortification of Jabal Nakum. Even Yemen's state television confirmed the American bombings at this location, a rare acknowledgement that underscores the magnitude of the impact. But why exactly this site? Both Sana'a and Jabal Nakum form a nerve center of Houthi operations. Beneath the surface lies a structure of tunnels and underground compartments, a veritable archipelago of arsenals, storing cutting-edge drones, medium-range missiles, and sensitive equipment. This underground architecture follows the Iranian strategic playbook: hide, disperse, survive. Unsurprisingly, these complexes also house command and control centers and serve as shelters for key high-ranking figures. Destroying these sites isn't just about neutralizing equipment, it's about decapitating the chain of command. Enter the B-2 Spirit, designed to penetrate dense air defenses and destroy deeply buried targets, including bunkers built to withstand nuclear attacks. It poses an existential threat to this type of structure. And the most telling detail, this kind of underground military architecture is the signature of one particular nation, an Islamic Republic that, while not officially on the battlefield, is present in nearly every trench in the region. You already know exactly who we're talking about. The statement from U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was blunt. The Houthis have had 3 rough weeks. In practice, this means a surgical and relentless campaign that has hit underground centers, weapons facilities, strategic positions, and open-air troops with pinpoint precision. And the message went beyond Yemen. Hegseth stated that Iran also received a clear warning. Any continued support for the Houthis will have consequences. And the US has not yet shown all its cards. Defense Department sources indicate that damage to the Houthis' military infrastructure is already visible, and the trend is toward escalation. This impact reaches even the top ranks. Several high-ranking commanders have died in recent weeks. Curiously, the group avoids admitting these deaths were caused by bombings, preferring to claim natural causes, like heart attacks. One case stands out: Abdul Nasser Saharan al-Kamali. Officially, he died suddenly, but coalition sources claim he was taken out by an American bomb. This kind of narrative shows the Houthis' effort to maintain internal cohesion, even in the face of severe losses. Since the launch of the so-called Operation Rough Riders, possibly a nod to Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders, the landscape has shifted. In just a few weeks, over 100 group members were killed, according to estimates based on the Houthis' own funeral ceremonies. The operation has clear targets: command centers, logistics routes, mountainous bunkers, and communication networks. And the results are tangible. The military and psychological toll imposed on the Houthis is high and intentional. But there's a deeper strategic layer. Despite acting as Iran's proxies, the Houthis have ambitions of their own. They seek to consolidate autonomy and expand their power. However, their offensive capacity depends heavily on Iranian military engineering. Without the missiles, guidance systems, and weapons supplied by Tehran, the Houthis would revert to being a local group. In this context, diplomacy is starting to move. Trump announced a new round of talks with Iran, set to take place in Oman. While the US speaks of direct meetings, Tehran insists on mediated discussions. Still, both sides are signaling willingness. What changed? The presence of B-2 bombers at the US base in Diego Garcia. 6 units, out of Iran's reach but close enough to strike any target within Iran with precision. The effect: a silent but palpable deterrent, a strategic reminder. Dialogue is possible, yes, but under the shadow of an invisible force. In the end, the question remains: are we facing a moment of real containment? Or is this new round of diplomacy just the calm before a new kind of storm? What does this movement of bombers reveal about the limits of modern deterrence? Can mere presence be more effective than an attack? What's your take on this offensive? Do you see these negotiations as a real path to stability, or a temporary game of perception? Share your analysis in the comments. Exchanging perspectives enriches the debate. If this kind of geopolitical analysis helps you understand the behind the scenes of power, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Here, every video is a move on the global chessboard.